When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's time to get wealthy. You're going to learn exactly what you need to know and do to finally achieve the level of financial success you deserve. The average student loan balance for African Americans is $30,000. The Student Loan Forgiveness Program has been a long time coming. First, the Public Student Loan Forgiveness Program, and now the Biden administration's new program that will forgive up to $20,000 in student loan debt. That's why I'm excited to have back on Get Wealthy to explain it all to us, our financial wellness advocate. But here are the 3 things that you may not know about this student loan program. The first thing is that the Biden Student Loan Forgiveness Program will forgive a maximum of $20,000. The other thing is that your income must be under $125,000, or if you're married or joint income is $250,000. And then finally, you need to be on the watch because those applications apparently will be coming out in October. And that's why this is so timely. Joining me today is Dr. Tisa Silver-Kennedy. She is a financial wellness advocate and has helped help families pay off over a $75 million in student loan debt. She is also the author of Borrowing While Black. Let's welcome Dr. Tisa Kennedy to the program. Thanks so much for coming on again, Tisa.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. You know, it's always a pleasure to visit you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you because, man, it's like these things are coming out fast and furious. But before we get started on this new program, I would like for you to give us an update on the public student loan forgiveness program, because if I'm not mistaken, it's coming upon its kind of sunset where you may not be able to take advantage of all the changes that they've made.
Yes, so last fall, the Biden administration enacted something called the Limited Pslf Waiver. And the Pslf waiver provides an opportunity for people to gain credit for past payments that would have been rejected under the program's original rules. This waiver is going to expire on October 31st of 2022. So while the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program is going to stay around, the original, more strict rules are going to go back into play effective November 1st, unless the waiver is extended. So for anyone out there who's got work experience in the public sector, whether that's with the government or certain types of nonprofit organizations, and they have loans that are in repayment, they need to make sure that they apply before that October 31st deadline so that they can get the maximum amount of credit for those past payments.
Oh, yeah. Soon and very soon, right? And, you know, I don't know, have you heard anything about whether or not they will be extending this waiver, or it's kind of crickets?
So kind of crickets. There are a lot of people in this space that are talking about it, and there are people like me who are advocating for it. So I'm hopeful that we'll hear something soon, but as of right now, the waiver is set to expire on October 31st.
Excellent. And I want our audience to understand, listen, if you have public service or you know of someone who does, then you need to really get on top of this and not miss your opportunity. Because what I know, Tisa, is all the information that you've provided the Wealthy You community with. We have had several of our members have, you know, almost 6 figures forgiven, 30,000 forgiven. And so this is real critical that we take advantage of it. But now I want to shift to this new program and why it's different. So the first was the Public Student Loan Forgiveness Program, which was already instituted, but most people somehow could never be approved. Talk to us a little bit about this new program and why you feel like the Biden administration felt like they needed to do more.
Okay, so the new program was announced on August 24th, and it includes 3 components. The first component is this payment pause that we've been in since March of 2020 was extended, and so now payments are expected to resume in January of 2023. The second part is that cash relief that everyone wants to know about, the $10,000 or up to $20,000 worth of student loans being canceled. The third part of the plan is to actually create a new repayment plan that would lower the amount of money that borrowers would be asked to pay each month when they use a repayment plan that's based on their income. I think that the Biden administration, by implementing this plan, is admitting that there have been several serious faults within the higher education financing system, and that this plan is a step in the right direction to providing remedy for some of those past harms, but also ensuring that repayment is more manageable going forward. As for the $20,000 worth of relief, people need to know, as you mentioned earlier, there are income limitations. So if you are an individual, your adjusted gross income for either 2020 or 2021 should be under $125,000. And if you're a married borrower or a person who files as head of household, then your AGI needs to be under $250,000 to take advantage of this cancellation relief. The $10,000 is for borrowers. An additional $10,000 will be for borrowers who also received Pell Grants. And the inclusion of a special amount of cancellation for borrowers who receive Pell Grants, to me, is an acknowledgement of the experience of Black borrowers and how student loans have affected Black borrowers in greater ways than they've affected others.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because certainly the Pell Grant was specifically for people who had lower incomes. You had to have an income, you had to qualify based on your income. So now I want to shift for just a moment. As you know, on Wealthy You, the formula for financial success is mindset, strategy, and execution. And so I want to start with mindset, because I feel like you have a lot of experience now with people who have taken advantage of this program and actually gotten relief, right? And I do feel like, and what I have found, not feel, but what I have found is whenever there's paperwork involved, or whenever you have to produce receipts, if you will, sometimes that can be a little intimidating for people. So I want to start with the mindset aspect of this. What type of mindset does our audience need to have in order to make sure that they are able to take advantage of this new program?
So I am going to bring up something that you always say, which is that you cannot fix what you will not face. And I might have messed that up a little bit, but you get the point.
No, that's right. Go ahead. That was good.
For many people, student loans, especially since we've been in this payment pause since March of 2020, it's been very easy to just ignore them, to act as if they don't exist because the payments are not required. But payments will resume at some point, and right now we're expecting that to happen around January of 2023. So for people who have kind of gotten comfortable not thinking about the student loans and relaxing in this period of not having to make payments, there are benefits that you could miss out on if you don't take a hard look at those student loans and determine whether you're eligible for public service loan forgiveness, or if you're eligible for the $10,000 or $20,000, or also pay attention to when the application comes out for that broad cancellation. So I think it all begins with facing it. That means taking a look at all student loans that you have, whether it's federal or private. And after you know how much you have, then you can move to the next step, which is developing your strategy to get to that zero balance.
And that's exactly where we're going to go next. However, one of the things, the reason I want to double click on this mindset, and you brought up a really good point, and that is, kind of what we don't see doesn't exist, right? Or, the fact is that you cannot change what you will not acknowledge. And, what we fear and is facing that. And I can recall one of our Wealthy You members who you were able to guide in reapplying really for public student loan forgiveness. She was done, right? She just felt like this would not apply. And yet, through the knowledge that you were able to give her, she actually, and you can look at that past previous Get Wealthy segment, was 95,000, almost six figures of student loan debt was forgiven. And so to that end, you've seen people who have been successful. What is the mindset that they have had that's allowed them to be successful in finding and taking advantage of these opportunities?
One thing that they all have in common is that they were persistent. And I told them early on in this process, you're going to fill out an application. It may be months before you hear an answer. You may be told that you've been rejected and you need to file again. And these are people that decided, I'm going to pursue this. I know that I've been working in public service and I'm going to access the benefit that I have earned. So I'd say persistent. They have also not been afraid to advocate for themselves. For instance, when receiving a letter that says you've been rejected for whatever reason, they followed up and asked why. What can I do to rectify the situation? They didn't just accept a no because they knew deep down that this was a benefit that they have earned. And I also say that many of them have relied on faith, because after you're told no so many times, whether it's via email, on the phone, a letter in hand saying that no, you can't have something, and you know for sure that you've earned it, there's just a little something extra that kicks in and says, you know what, stick to this. You're doing the right thing. Keep the faith and move on. And those people who have exhibited those characteristics have been the ones that saw their trophies. That's what happens when you've been approved for the program. They logged on, they saw those trophies in their online accounts, and they know that that victory was worth all the headaches.
And one of the other things, Tisa, I often say is opportunities aren't lost. They just go to other people who had that perseverance, who had that stick-to-itiveness. And I really feel like this aspect of it is what, after coaching thousands of people, I have learned. And it's sometimes you're facing it. And facing it means really looking at the amount of debt that has accumulated plus interest. And so that's one of the reasons people get paralyzed in fear, is because it can be overwhelming. And so to that end, the next question I have for you is, how do I go about actually obtaining information on all of the loans that I have outstanding and what type of loans they are?
Great. So the best place for everyone to go is studentaid.gov. That is the online home of the Department of Education's Office of Federal Student Aid. Once a person logs into that portal, they'll be directed to a dashboard, and that dashboard will show them the history of any federal financial aid they have ever received, regardless of the school, the loan type, or servicer. It will all be included in studentaid.gov. It's also great to go there to verify how much you would be eligible for through that broad cancellation that we talked about, the $10,000 or the $20,000. When you look at that federal aid dashboard, it contains loans and grants. And from that page, a person can see if they were a Pell Grant recipient. And if they were a Pell Grant recipient, that could mean that they're eligible for the additional $10,000 that's been reserved for Pell borrowers.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because what is the difference between a Pell Grant and just a kind of vanilla federal student loan?
Sure. So the big difference is that the Pell Grant doesn't have to be repaid, but because the purchasing power of the Pell Grant has failed to keep pace with the cost of higher education or inflation, many people that received those Pell Grants still had to borrow student loans. So the Pell Grant piece never has to be repaid. However, if a person received a Pell Grant, that would make them eligible for up to an additional $10,000 worth of cancellation, just on the strength of them receiving that Pell Grant, because Pell Grants are reserved for low-income households.
Okay, so it's interesting, because I thought about that. I said, well, why would they forgive $10,000 in a Pell Grant when Pell Grants don't have to be repaid? So that means if you received a Pell Grant, that is identifying you as someone who qualified under those income limits. And so as a result, you could get another $10,000 of student loan debt that wasn't a Pell Grant forgiven. Is that what I'm understanding?
Exactly. This is just for people who are borrowers who also received a Pell Grant. If someone just received a Pell Grant and didn't borrow any loans, then they would not benefit from this plan because they have no debt to cancel. But again, the Pell Grant, the purchasing power has just gone down. So many people that receive Pell Grants are also borrowing student loans, and this provision will give them some extra help.
No, that's great. So the other question I have for you, though, you talked about going to studentaid.gov, but what if I have a private or a personal loan, like many parents took out Parent Plus loans? Are those federal loans, or how do I find out what type of loan actually qualifies under this loan forgiveness program?
Sure. So Parent Plus loans are also federal student loans. So when the parent logs into studentaid.gov, that parent will see any loans that they took out for their child. And if the parent took out loans for their own educational experience, they will find those loans inside of studentaid.gov as well. If someone took out a personal loan or a private or alternative loan from a bank or any lender outside of the federal government, then they would need to visit their credit report. And their credit report will contain both their federal debt and any debt that they took out for education that did not come from the federal government.
Woo, that's a mouthful. So that's the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, is because those types of convoluted, facts that if you don't understand them, you can become frustrated. And then lastly, the other thing I have is, so let's say I took out a Parent Plus loan and I have my own educational loan. Would I be able to have that forgiven on me personally and also the Parent Plus loan, or just one?
So I would encourage people to go to studentaid.gov/debt relief so that they can see the exact provisions of this. From what I've seen, parent loans are eligible, Parent Plus loans are eligible, and student loans that a parent might have taken out for themselves are eligible as well. I do not believe you can double up on the $20,000 on that $20,000 ceiling though.
Okay, so they don't call, listen, they don't call me the money lady for nothing, right? I want to make sure people know exactly what type of strategy, which is a great segue because we talked about mindset. Next, we're going to strategy. So you've learned now, you should understand what this program is offering and what, and how to find out what loans that you have qualified. Next up, what we want to really look at is what do you need to really position yourself so that you are able to take advantage of this opportunity. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Take some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's time to get wealthy. And we're talking about how you can get wealthy by reducing debt. And now our conversation is about student loan debt. And you should have heard that the Biden administration is giving some student loan relief. And boy, you need to take advantage. And that's why I'm excited to have our guest expert back talking with us. She's a financial wellness advocate, student loan advocate, scholar advocate, Dr. Tisa Silver-Kennedy. So glad you could join us again. So again, whenever these programs come out, sometimes it can be convoluted. And I know people might have just heard that last segment and said, man, that's a lot, right? So we're breaking it down. So it's not enough to understand a program. You need to understand how you specifically can take advantage of these opportunities. And so my next question to you, really, Tisa, is how do I've gone to studentaid.gov, I see what I have. What are some strategies that I need to take so that I can take full advantage of the maximum of that 20K? What advice would you give?
So I would instruct people to do two things. If a person has $20,000 or less, then they definitely need to go to studentaid.gov to verify that they had a Pell Grant, and that entire balance up to $20,000 could be wiped out. For people that have more than $20,000, this is where I want them to think about the Biden administration's relief plan, as well as other programs like public service loan forgiveness and repayment assistance programs that might be offered by their states. In the event that a person has worked for the government or for certain types of nonprofit organizations, part of the strategy must be to apply for public service loan forgiveness before October 31st of this year, because the more strict program rules are going to go back into effect on November 1st, and those rules resulted in 98% of applicants being rejected for public service loan forgiveness. So studentaid.gov is the place to go for the application for public service loan forgiveness. And one thing that borrowers need to do alongside of completing that application is to know exactly what types of loans they have. There are certain loans that are not eligible for public service loan forgiveness unless they are consolidated into what's called the direct loan program. Direct loans are eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Non-direct loans are not eligible for public service loan forgiveness. So when a person goes into studentaid.gov, they can view their loan breakdown and look at each one of those loans by name. If the name of that loan does not have the word direct in it, then the loan is not eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Most other loans can be consolidated and become direct and therefore become eligible for public service loan forgiveness. But if you have loans that are not direct and you're interested in public service loan forgiveness, you've got another action to take, and that's to consolidate, which would also need to be accomplished by October 31st of 2022.
So that's 2022, and that's why you are emphasizing that and creating such a sense of urgency, because this other program will, if I'm not mistaken, be open until December of 2023. At least that's the preliminary information that we got in our research. Is that correct?
Yes, they're expecting the application to go up next month and remain out there until December 31st of next year.
I have another question for you, however, and I'm so glad you brought up the whole refinancing aspect of it. And the fact that you can consolidate your loans and have them all be direct federal student loans. How about people who refinance their loans? You know, interest rates were very low, and you had a number of these lenders out here saying how that you could reduce the amount of the interest that you were paying. However, those federal loans then became private loans. Is there any way to change that, or basically are you just, it is what it is?
So under normal circumstances, once a borrower has taken their federal student loans and refinanced them with a private lender, there's really no going back. Once the loans become private loans, all federal student loan benefits are lost. However, earlier this week, I saw an announcement that mentioned the ability to request a refund. So if a borrower had paid off their student loans during a pandemic, and these are the loans that qualified for the payment pause that we've been in since March of 2020. So if a person has those type of loans and they paid off their loans during that during this pandemic pause, then they can request a refund so that they can then access the up to $10,000 or up to $20,000 worth of cancellation from the Biden administration. Tucked in there was a note about people who refinanced and how they should reach out to their lenders and also request a refund so that they too might be able to take advantage of that $10,000 or $20,000 worth of relief. So for people who refinanced or made voluntary payments during this payment pause that began on March 13th of 2020, I would strongly encourage them to reach out to their servicer to request the refund, or to reach out to the lender they refinanced with and ask about the process of requesting a refund, because this is the first time that I've ever seen any type of indication that there could be success for people who have taken federal loans and refinanced them with a private lender. And I want as many people to explore it and hopefully take advantage of it.
I just want to make sure I understood what you just said. So in March of 2020, because of COVID, student loans payments were paused, right? And
Yes.
so let's say I didn't pause my payments. I was like, listen, I can't be pausing. I got to pay this off. So I continued to pay. And so that would be over 2 years, 2020 to 2021, and now we're in 2022. And so let's say my payments, and in some case, we know some people are paying almost a mortgage was $1,000, right? So over that time period, I paid $24,000 on my loans. I could request a refund even if I had even from a private lender, even if I had a private loan.
So that's what
do I understand?
Yes, that's what the announcement said. If the person had refinanced their loans during that payment pause, then they could request a refund from the private lender. And by requesting that refund, that would then recreate a balance on their federal student loans. And then the person would need to apply for cancellation of the federal debt. So it gets tricky. But if you want the up to $10,000 or $20,000 worth of relief, then I would make the call and see if it's a possibility.
No, I'm glad that you clarified that, because the point is, if you had refinanced during this, a federal loan during this period, get a refund, go back, and then you can apply. Woo! Talk about strategy. I hope you're taking this all in, and I hope you're going to continue to watch Get Wealthy, and you may want to run this back over and over and over so that you can really understand what your options are. This is tremendous, Tisa. And so coming up next, what I want to talk about is executing on the strategies that we've been discussing to make sure that folks take full advantage, not only of this new program, but that they don't sleep on this public service loan forgiveness program that really is supposed to sunset, if you will, next month, if I'm not mistaken. What's the date when this will?
It's October 31st.
So one coming in and one going out. Don't go anywhere, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk about the third part of the financial success framework, specifically on taking advantage and reducing your student loan debt, and that's execution. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
I'm Deborah Owens. This is Get Wealthy, and we're talking about getting wealthy by reducing your debt, student loan debt specifically. You should know that one of the ways you increase your net worth is either by increasing the value of your assets or reducing debt. And that's exactly what we want to make sure you take advantage of with this new program from the Biden administration that allows up to $20,000 in loan forgiveness. And of course, joining me on Get Wealthy is our student loan forgiveness guru. Dr. Tisa Silver-Kennedy is a financial advocate of student loans, and I want to welcome her back to this conversation. And now talk a little bit about, okay, execution.
right? So we covered a lot. If people are going to take advantage of the public student loan forgiveness and this program, what are the things that they need to do to get the process moving?
Okay. So there are two different processes. I'll go through the one for public service loan forgiveness first, since we've got a deadline that's coming up on October 31st of 2022. The first thing the borrower needs to do is log into studentaid.gov and verify their loan types, because the type of loans that a borrower has will let them know their next steps. If there are any loans in that portfolio that are not direct, then those loans would need to be consolidated into the direct loan program, because direct loans are eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Once the borrower knows their loan types, they'll be able to determine whether they need to consolidate. And after they've settled the loan side of this, then they move on to tackle the employment. For people that have worked for government at any level, but also 501c3 tax exempt organizations, as well as some other nonprofit organizations, they'll need to complete the Pslf application to document their employment. That application can also be found on studentaid.gov, and just click on Manage Loans and Public Service Loan Forgiveness. So as long as their paperwork is in by October 31st of 2022, they'll be considered for public service loan forgiveness using this newer set of more relaxed rules that came about with the limited waiver. As for people who are interested in the broad relief through the Biden administration's plan, the application for that plan is forthcoming. It's expected to come out in early October. In the meantime, I would encourage people to go to studentaid.gov/debt relief. And if they'd like, sign up for updates related to that relief plan and the application for student debt cancellation, just to make sure that they're staying in the loop and that they can fill out the application as soon as it's made available.
Woo, so the point is that, folks, you need to make sure that you get all your ducks in a row. It's not necessarily, I think people, when they're coming upon a pending deadline, they give up. But your point is, go ahead and make the application, and all of that verification can be provided afterwards, as long as you get the application in by October 31st for the public student loan forgiveness program. Now, secondly, though, on this new program, the applications are not even available yet. What are you going to have to do? What paperwork should people have in place in order to verify their income eligibility?
So they haven't told us yet what the application is going to entail, but when the announcement came out, they pledged that it would be simple. So I'm hopeful that it is simple. I know that the application for consolidating loans requires people to who want to use certain plans to transfer information from their most recent tax transcript. So that could be a possibility. We've also heard that they might allow people to self-report income and then go about some selective auditing. So for right now, the best thing they can do is stay tuned and go to studentaid.gov/debt relief to sign up for updates about the application's availability, as well as the information that it's going to require.
Yes, thank you for that, Tisa, because one of the other things that I read was that for those people who have filled out a FAFSA application where they've already had to qualify for their income or have proof of income through that application, that it may be that if they've already got the information internally, that they will automatically get access to that. So this has been a wealth of information. And when we come back, I want to just summarize, and let's give people 3 steps. It's our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize segment, where we're going to share with you how you can now take this information and synthesize it so that you can get wealthy. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to PO Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and we're talking about the student loan forgiveness programs where it is essential that you take advantage of them because there are deadlines coming upon us. And here today, giving us all the information that we need has been Dr. Tisa Silver-Kennedy. She's a financial wellness advocate as well as author of Borrowing While Black, and she's been giving us all the information. So Tisa, let's summarize because we covered a lot. Analyze, optimize, maximize. So on the analyze part of it, what's essential there for folks to do?
What's essential there is evaluating whether they're eligible for multiple relief plans. We have public service loan forgiveness that's designed to forgive debt for people who've worked for the government or for certain types of nonprofit organizations. And then we have that broader relief that's available to federal student loan borrowers in the amount of up to $10,000 or $20,000. So people need to analyze which programs they're eligible for, and then they'll know where to direct their efforts.
That's perfect. And then the second thing that you brought up that I thought was really interesting, and that really goes to the whole optimizing thing, is your point is, hey, you've got a deadline on public service, and then this new thing is going up. So if you're going to optimize, what do you need to do?
So if I'm thinking about optimization, if I have any past experience in working for the government or for a nonprofit organization, as long as that experience is after October 1st of 2007, I'm completing a Pslf application for every employer so that I can get the most credit for past periods of repayment. If I'm a person who's just looking at the broad cancellation, I'm going into my account to see if I have a Pell Grant, and I'm also looking to see if I made any voluntary payments during that payment pause and trying to get those back.
And then finally, maximizing all this information. You have been, at the forefront of really advocating for people to apply for public student loan forgiveness. What would you say, based on your experience, the people who have really maximized this opportunity, what have they done, and what should our audience do?
So they have followed through with all of the paperwork. They have advocated for themselves, but they also had to sit down and think about what's next. Once that forgiveness or cancellation comes through, what are you going to do with that money that you no longer have to pay each month on student loans? And don't squander the opportunity to build wealth. So I think that's the key there. You have the opportunity here to take a liability and turn it into an asset. So have a plan for what you're going to do with that money once it's been freed up from student loan debt.
I love it. You're talking my language. Assets, liabilities, subtracting them so we increase our net worth, because that's really how wealth is created. Dr. Silver-Kennedy, thank you so much for coming on Get Wealthy. We're going to make sure we put your website out so that people who are available, who want to know more about what their options are, can get in contact with you. Thanks so much for coming on Get Wealthy.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, folks, when we come back, the 3 takeaways from today's show, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and I hope you enjoyed Get Wealthy today. Here are the 3 takeaways from today's show. First off, determine what type of student loans you have, because that's going to make all the difference in your ability to take advantage of the 2 loan forgiveness programs that we talked about today. Public service loan forgiveness, as well as the new Biden administration plan that's going to allow you to be forgiven $20,000. Secondly, get your paperwork in order, document your income. One of the other points that Dr. Tisa made today was to document your income, and that it's based on adjusted gross income. I thought that was extremely helpful. And then finally, that you're going to have until December of 2023 to take advantage of the new program. But based on what we know when this program aired, that the public student loan forgiveness program, that information has to be submitted by October 31st. That's going to do it for me. I hope you enjoyed Get Wealthy. And most importantly, I hope that you take action. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. Thank you for watching Get Wealthy only on Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Take some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.